Hi team, welcome back to the channel as always. I thought today I'd do a short video on the art of motivation and why motivation should be driven by the desire to succeed and the thrill of success rather than be driven by the fear of failure. If you look at things from a risk versus reward point of view, which any sensible person should. And a lot of people that I've met in business and a lot of people that I've worked with, their decision making is one that is based on mitigating as many risks as possible rather than how many opportunities they can create. And it's a bit like, to use a football or sport analogy, you can't win if you don't score goals. And I'm all for defensive tactics and not taking huge risks, but actually, at least if you set out with the goal that you are trying to win rather than not lose, it has a dramatic impact on your psyche. The most successful people know when the time is to take that risk, when that time is to put your best foot forward and really push towards that goal. Whereas there's a number of people, and I'm sure people who are watching this video now can picture the kind of people I'm talking about. You go into an office, or maybe someone you've been in business with, and you're looking at opportunities, but the fear of failure or the risk of if they don't work outweighs to them the upside of if it does work. And as I say, I'm not encouraging people to take a reckless outlook towards risk versus reward, but they are intrinsically very different behaviours. And in the best businesses, you have a mix. You have those that are risk averse and those that like to take a risk. But if you are an entrepreneur in a kind of very small business, or you're self-employed, single employee, actually you have to be the best of both worlds, and that bravery is what holds a lot of people back. There's many people with fantastic ideas, but whether it's lack of funding, lack of opportunity, lack of belief, never done it before, all those things play into the psyche of your decision making. And actually, if you can take yourself out of the situation and think about the advice you would give to someone else in your situation, if the idea is good enough, if it's well thought through enough, your advice would be to take that leap of faith. If you knew you'd half-arsed it and actually it just felt like a nice idea, but you hadn't done the work to qualify whether it was good enough or not, then your advice to that person would be, don't do it. And I think I cannot emphasise enough the importance of mindset when it comes to business and decision making. And if I give you an example of when a positive mental attitude works, when I came up with the idea of the IP programme for BrickLive, a small independent business coming up with the idea that they were going to become one of the UK's leading trail businesses, but with world-class brands like Paw Patrol or Peppa Pig or Peter Rabbit or Paddington Bear. That looks foolhardy. When you say it out loud, a lot of people go, and a lot of people did, let me be clear, a lot of people did. There was probably one or two that went, I'm with you on that. The reality is, when you're met with the initial cynicism, that's where most ideas die. The fear, as I talked about at the very beginning of the video, of failure outweighs the drive and the excitement and the adrenaline of the chase of what success could be. I didn't let other people's cynicism put me off. So I ran at the idea I was prepared, I was diligent. That stuff is not done overnight, because actually a great idea is a great idea, but it's just an idea unless you execute it. So one idea while watching the Paw Patrol with my kids over breakfast became a business sector. I think that's a great example of the difference between being motivated by the idea of success and the drive and the enjoyment of what that success brings. And I don't mean that in monetary value, I mean that in the thrill of doing something and seeing it through all the way to execution. It's very different, because I could have had that breakfast, watched Paw Patrol, told some of my colleagues, their reaction was, yeah, but it's never going to happen, and I could have just let that idea go. I think that's a really tangible example where you have imagined what the success looks like, you're motivated by that, you're driven by that, and therefore the likelihood of you achieving that is far greater, because when you get the knockbacks, you get up and you go again. I thought we could dig into what I actually mean when I say that. If you set out to succeed, if your motivations are driven by picturing success, that is a very different scenario to if you set out fearing what failure looks like. Because if you can imagine it and if you can picture it, you can aspire to it. So if I use an analogy of when I do my public speaking, if you take these two examples, if just before I was going on, I imagine a really engaged audience, people giving me eye contact, smiling, nodding, clapping, wanting more from me, wanting to do a Q&A afterwards because they've been super engaged. Or then you flip it and I'm stood next to the stage thinking, imagine if I bomb. Picturing faces of disengaged people, people on their phones, the silence at the moments I'm hoping they'll laugh or they're engaged. The situation hasn't changed. Whatever happens, I'm about to go on that stage, regardless. There's no going back now. So before I do, what do you think is the most impactful thing that you can imagine in your mind? It's obvious, isn't it? If you've pre-imagined what that success looked like, even if it doesn't exactly look like that, the confidence that you exhibit, the belief that you have when you get on that stage, or as you go into the office, or as you go into that negotiation, it's unparalleled. At every crossroads, and this counts in all situations, in every crossroad, every decision that you have to make in business, there will become a point where you have to go left or right. And one of those will be the path of confidence, the path of we've got to push on with this, and the others were the path of we need to take a step back here. Not sure we're ready for this. And you as the entrepreneur have to be wise enough, because there will be times where you need to go right and say enough is enough. But what I've found in most people that I've worked with and most people that I've met, they find it very, very easy to go right because there's no risk to going right. What most people aren't willing to do is take the left turn. Don't quite know where it's going, but I think it could be exciting. Let's crack on. I say all that because I don't want to encourage anyone to be reckless and just blindly go after things. That's not what I'm saying. So many great businesses out there. There's so many great leaders out there. There's so many brilliant entrepreneurs out there. But actually, at times, the biggest thing that holds you back is your own mindset. And I think a mindset of positivity and of belief and of encouragement is far more effective than a dour mindset that believes that the glass is half empty and it might not work. And actually, when you believe that it might not work, it's typically a self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's it for today. I thought I'd just do that really short video on what motivation looks like, but not motivation as you know it. Motivation through picturing your success, imagining you succeeding and achieving your goals, rather than you being driven by the fear of the failure and imagining what that failure looks like. So enjoy the sun, enjoy the good weather, and I'll see you in some up and coming videos. But as always, please like, please subscribe, and thank you for staying with me on the journey. Take it easy, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye.